And welcome to the August 9th Goffstown Select Board meeting. First up on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you all join me? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are short a couple of people tonight. One's on vacation, the other one got tied up at work, and then our town administrator is also on vacation, and we have Danielle, the assistant town administrator, sitting in tonight. First order of business is the acceptance and correction of minutes from the 7/26 public and non-public.
I'll make a motion. We accept the 7/26/21 public and non-public minutes with corrections if need be.
I better second that.
If you don't, it's going to be me and him or me and you. So the motion's on the floor to approve the minutes. Any questions? Any changes? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion passes 3-0. We have announcements. We have a couple of announcements. One of them is, I'm sure some of you have noticed, the Department of Public Works will be working at the Wallace Road roundabout starting Tuesday, August 10th. Use caution while driving through the work zone. Commuters and through traffic use Elm Street to avoid the area if possible. Delays should be expected. If you have any questions, please contact the Department of Public Works at 497-3617 with any questions. And thank you for your patience as you go through the roundabout. Another traffic alert, and again from the DPW, the Department of Public Works announces road reclamation on Glenwood Drive starting Tuesday, August 10th. The road will be down to one lane at times. Glenwood Drive will be open to all traffic, but significant delays should be expected in the work zone due to ongoing construction work. DPW highly recommends using an alternative route until the work is completed. Please note, gravel surfaces will remain while Goffstown Village Water Precinct continues their work. Again, this notice has been posted, and if you have any questions, you can call the DPW. Danielle, we'll start with some of yours because we've got a few minutes before we go to public comment.
Okay, starting at tab 8. We have the committee's meeting schedule for the weeks coming up. This Thursday at 7 p.m., the planning board will be meeting in Town Hall, room 106.
Collis said he will be here for that.
He will be here. Okay, thank you. Next week, on Wednesday at 6:30 p.m., the library trustees are meeting on the 3rd floor.
It's me.
And at 7 p.m., the Parks and Rec Commission will be meeting at the Parks and Recreation Building.
I'm not going to be able to make that, but I'll make some calls and see if I can get somebody to cover that for me.
Okay, thank you.
That'll make Rick happy too. I'm always asking too many questions.
The consent agenda for employee status reports, there's GTV videographer resignation, DPW truck driver was discharged, unsuccessful completion of probationary period, 5 full-time firefighter new hires, 2 part-time firefighter 2 new hires, 2 part-time firefighter 2 EMT new hires, a call firefighter 2 EMT new hire, and one that was added today, a full-time solid waste attendant new hire. Also in front of you tonight is the rights to inter request for Shirley Hill Cemetery, Section 3, Lot 43, and event permits for LL Bean Mobile Selling Pop-Up Shop, August 31st and September 1st, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Parks and Recreation Parking Lot Building located at 155 South Mass Street. And an event permit for Uncanunic Mountaineers of Goffstown Snowmobiles and Mini Bike Show and Swap Meet, October 16th, 2021, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that location is the Parsons Lot, Mass Road, and Parsons Drive, which is the cemetery field, map 7, lot 72. That was approved by the cemetery trustees at their meeting 7/28.
Motion to approve the consensus agenda as presented this evening.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. to approve the consent agenda. All in favor? Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Opposed, abstaining, seeing none, motion passes 300. I just want to just mention that because Danielle, when we're quick, but the LLB mobile selling pop-up is August 31st and September 1st. Now that was, last year turned out to be quite an event, and there was originally one day and it was so successful they stayed another day. So this year they're asking for 2 days, and that's located at the Parks and Rec parking lot. Anything else, Danielle?
So we have a little bit of time.
Yep.
The next one is a request for a right to inter with a waiver of the lot fees. This is for a lot in Shirley Hill Cemetery, located in Range 2, Lot 12A. And this went before the cemetery trustees at their meeting on July 28th. And they are recommending that space be given to the current owner of Range 2, Lot 12 at no cost, and issue a new right to inter to replace the existing right to inter. This was because there was an interment done in 1977, and that interment has shifted, so they wouldn't have enough space for the remaining 2 interments that they believed were part of that. So they wanted to give space behind them that's vacant between the headstone and the rock wall.
So the question is, how did the interment that was there move?
It's not so much that it moved, it was that it was placed, and then when the others came in on each side, there's not enough space.
Need a motion?
I'll make, go ahead.
I move that we grant additional space in Shirley Hill Cemetery known as Range 2, Lots 12 and 12A, as recommended by the cemetery trustees on July 28, 2021, and that we waive the lot fee.
Second.
Motion by Jim, seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, motion passes. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstaining, seeing none, motion passes.
Thank you.
One more?
And the next one that you have before you is the adoption of town ordinances. There are proposed ordinances entitled Meadowlark Lane, Benjamin Drive, and Kimberly Lane Speed Limit Ordinance, reducing the speed limit to 25 miles per hour. A proposed ordinance entitled Juniper Drive Speed Limit Ordinance, reducing the speed on Juniper Drive to 25 miles per hour. A proposed ordinance entitled Stop Sign on Higgins Street at the intersection of Cross Street Ordinance, to install a stop sign on Higgins Street at the intersection of Cross Street. And a proposed ordinance entitled Riverview Park Road Speed Limit Ordinance, to change the speed limit on Riverview Park Road to 25 miles per hour.
And these public hearings were held, the 2 public hearings were held according to the RSA, right?
Correct. In accordance with RSA 41:14-B, the public hearings were conducted on July 12th and July 26th of 2021. And the RSA requires that a vote be taken no sooner than 10 days and no later than 21 days after those public hearings.
And we are in that period, so I would take a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt the Juniper Drive Speed Limit Ordinance, the Meadowlark Lane, Benjamin Drive, and Kimberly Lane Speed Limit Ordinance, Stop Sign on Higgins at the intersection of Cross Street Ordinance, Riverview Park Road Speed Limit Ordinance, effective date of August 10th, 2021, as it was presented during the 2 required public hearings and included in the board's packet in accordance with RSA New Hampshire 41:14-B.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Is there any discussion on this? I think you've already discussed it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, seeing none, motion passes 3-0. And I believe it is time for our first period of public comment. Is there anybody here who would like to make public comment tonight? There are 2 sections of public comment, once in the beginning, and we do another one at the end. So if anybody's here who wants to speak, you come up to the table, give us your name and address. And who's first?
Can I do both public comments?
Sure.
Teresa Desposis, 6 Elmwood Ave, Goffstown, New Hampshire, 03045. And I saw that Circle National Club is going to be at 6:15. I just wanted to let you know that there is a person from the neighborhood here representing the neighborhood. So that's all I needed.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Sir, did you want to come up?
Yeah.
Need your name and address?
Lauren Kea, and 11 Juniper Drive. I just wanted to thank the members, all the selectmen, for passing this thing. I'm from Juniper Drive, and I was the one who submitted this initial request. And it was exactly 8 months ago today, and it went so nicely and smoothly, and it's all done, and I'm very happy with that. Me and the people that are with me, there's about 12 people on the street. It's a steep hill. I'm the first house in the street, and it's like a flight deck on an aircraft carrier. They come around the turn, it's a stretch in the hill, and they wind it. And then they come down the hill, doing about 45, 50, and then brake at the last second. So hopefully this is going to make a change to that.
Hope
So I wanted to thank everybody in the select board who supported me, and Collis went the effort, the extra distance for me when I had some questions and problems. He was there, you know. And the other thing is that, and the chief, Serino, and his people on the safety board for having unanimous, recognizing this problem. And also, we had a good week in Juniper Drive. They came and cut our sidewalks, did the cuts at the driveways for our new sidewalk, which was in terrible condition. I put in for that 2 years ago, and now they've come and done the cuts and the preps, so they're ready to pave that, which is going to be very nice. Because our street's used a lot, because if you know the street, it's a challenge to walk, and the school uses it for their running programs, you know. And typically, people walk on the street. They don't walk on the sidewalk because it's broken, it's a little heaved and this and that. It's 25 years old, and it was only paved and probably paved over the mud, you know, and there was no base to it. But they're just going to do a top coat on it, which will be nice. And I think the sign will complement the sidewalk itself for people, future people, to walk on the sidewalk and to use it as a good place, as a cul-de-sac, quieter than down on the main drag, which is a drag strip. And so hopefully, you know, that's going to work out pretty nice. The speed limit, I think, is going to be effective myself. So I wanted to thank Adam Jacobs for his effort and his crew and whatever to have this the paving done on that. I wasn't expecting it really. It's, you know, within 2 years. And the other thing is, the last Thursday, they said that they cut the driveways entrances in to paved into them there. They also ran the fiber optic cable, so we had a good week.
Great.
So for Juniper Drive. So thanks very much, guys.
No, thank you for
very
coming
much.
in.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else here for public comment? Seeing none. Next on our agenda, it's scheduled for 6:15, is a discussion reference the event permit for live bands outside in the yard for the Circle National Club. Is there somebody here from the Circle? Okay, who's one of you want to speak? Don't all get up at once.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for allowing us to come in.
Need your name, please?
Yeah, my name is Leonard Pappas. I'm the event director at the Circle National on the board. With me tonight is Tom LeBlanc, the president, and Jessica Pappas, who is the secretary. We'd just like to speak on behalf of what we have going on there. So since COVID came, obviously, we've had to make some adjustments, and we do have a large yard that is in the back of our establishment. We do have live bands there on Saturdays. We did have some live music on Sundays. I know there were some concerns from the neighbors. We have reached out, my wife personally has reached out to the neighbors that had their concern, and basically we've kind of cut back to what their concerns were. We've asked the bands to turn the volume down a little bit. We've also made sure that there is no profanity used in any of their song lists. We've cut out Sundays. We had performers playing from 5 to 8:30 on Sundays. We've moved them inside because it's just solo acoustic acts. And basically, during the week, if we have karaoke, they've asked us to close the windows of the doors. We've done that. We've also let them know that we will be making some adjustments moving forward, but the adjustments we make, we want to make sure that we're not creating another problem for somebody else, just to fix that problem. We are a members club, so we have to vote. We have to have a general meeting to vote to be able to make any financial changes through there, which would incur moving where the band sets up, running new electricity underground to set all that stuff up. Just making sure everything's done correctly where we do not cause a problem for somebody else. We have agreed that we would meet, the board meets tomorrow night, we'll be talking about that, and then we have a general meeting in October that we will be discussing financial responsibilities to make those moves. But I do want to say that we do listen to their concerns. We have made some adjustments from what they have said to us. I do know that they are still not happy. They have gone ahead and kind of counteracted with some loud music of their own. I know the police have been out there to speak to them too. We do follow our permit. The permit that we were given stops at 10 p.m. and we make sure that the bands are done by 10:15. I know the last couple of times that we've had some, the police have showed up at 10:01, let us know that we've complied, and they just have to show up because they received the call. So I want to thank everybody for allowing us to kind of speak tonight, and we are trying to do our best to work with the neighbors in the area, but you know, we are a business and we are trying to do what we can to keep our doors open as well.
When does your permit expire?
I believe it's November 1st.
Says November 15th.
November 15th, there's a copy.
Oh,
in your
okay, I'm sorry.
packet.
Okay, yeah, we don't have anything planned past October 16th, so, I mean, there's a month before the permit, we don't have anything planned. Our last event on a Saturday is the 16th of October.
So we got another 6 weeks.
Correct. And like I said, we did make the adjustments that they asked. We closed the windows and doors for any inside entertainment that we have, mostly karaoke or acoustic acts, and our Sunday acts are going to now be playing indoors. So it'll just be the Saturday from either 5 to 9 or 6 to 9:45.
In the past, weren't the full bands inside also?
No,
Never were?
no, we don't have room for a full band inside. And as far as the capacity goes on the outside, we've never had probably more than 60 to 70 people at a time, and that's maybe once a year, maybe twice a year. More of the time, mostly it's anywhere between 30 and 45 people.
Jim, you got any questions?
I don't know, it may have been that woman right there, but someone came in a couple of weeks ago and complained that she couldn't even talk to her kids in her own house on Saturday night because of the music, and I'm not trying to give you a hard time,
Sure.
but if that's true, I guess I got a problem with that. I mean, you know, I see both sides,
Yep.
but if you can't talk to your husband or your spouse or anything in the
Sure.
house, for me that's a problem.
No, we have definitely turned down the volume with that. Also, the last few weeks, and I believe the police could attest to this, that they have been called to their residents because they take a loudspeaker and put it up and turn the music up as loud as they can. And at the same point, they have messaged my wife, who's the secretary, stating, "We're not home tonight, but I hope you're enjoying my husband because he has the music blared." So they're obviously doing that to counteract, and I understand their frustration, but we did everything right by getting our permit, and we are trying to work with them by giving them some concessions. But at the same time, we are a business, and we're trying to do what we can is to keep our doors open.
Mark?
So-
I'm sorry, Jim, go ahead.
So if you keep the bands outside,
Mhm.
there's no cure for that on Saturday nights. I mean, I appreciate everything you said about
Sure.
Sunday and Friday, but Saturday night seems to be the problem here. And-
Correct, and again, the permit was until 10 o'clock. So from 6 to 9:45, we do have live bands out there, and they have turned the volume down since we have spoken to them.
I just have something to add. My name's Jessica. I am the secretary there.
Jessica, what's your full name, please?
Jessica Pappas.
Okay.
I can tell you, there are bands that are louder there. We have spoke with them, and I can tell you, the few times that I have been out since I've talked to the neighbor, or my husband has been there, sitting right there in front of me, I can hear myself talking to him. I can tell you that there were bands that were excessively loud, and we've gotten, they're like, oh, we hear it at the fire station, or we've actually had members that have lived further out, they're like, we can hear that. So we have talked to the neighbors, to the bands ahead of time, and just said, we need to make sure that we're keeping it. Obviously, it's still an outdoor band. You're gonna hear it, but I was there last weekend, and I was sitting right next to him, and I said, well, that was actually, him and I were talking, and in the yard right in front of the speakers, I could hear him and I talking, and we're not yelling, you know what I'm saying? So to say that people are, another 75 feet away and can't hear in their kitchen is not, I don't know that that's entirely true.
I don't want to get into that kind of.
Yeah, right, no,
All I
exactly.
want's facts. I don't want to hear he
Okay,
said,
yep.
she said stuff. That
Yep.
doesn't really,
Well, no, he had just said
Yeah, I know.
he had an issue with that. The other thing that we are bringing up for the meeting is, so we had gone out to the dairy field, and the dairy field has an enclosure, and then they have side things. So we just have to present it. So not necessarily moving they set up, but maybe enclosing. So we can be out there rain or shine, because there are bans, because it is a smoking establishment, and I personally don't smoke. I prefer outside because it gets a lot in there. Anyways, some of the bands won't even play inside because they smoke. Sometimes we have to cancel because of the weather. So an enclosed would be a problem solver for everybody. We just have to present it, make sure financially we can do things, make sure, there's just things, processes that we also have to go through to present it to the board, to present it then to the members. It has to be approved. We have to make sure financially that we can do that. And when I did speak with the neighbors, I've told them that we would do what we could, but not everything could be done. And to start a construction and moving things all around, when we have things out there, we have horseshoes out there on Thursday, we have different things, we can't start a construction zone where everything that we had done was done before we opened for the season. So we can't do construction now that we have things booked.
anything you do to that site has to have a site plan review
Correct.
by the town.
That is
Just
correct.
as long as you
Yep.
realize that.
Yep.
You know, that an event permit doesn't give you any.
No, exactly, and just to add to what you're saying, I completely understand the noise concerns, and we just want you guys to know that we are aware of that, and we are coming up with a plan to work with the neighbors.
Mark, do you have any questions? Oh, you live over there, so.
Yeah, I mean, one of the only questions I have, and it concerns me, is, I drove by there the other day, and the parking lot was full, and the band was playing. My concern is the occupancy permit for the number of people that are allowed either in or out. And I don't know if the fire chief could shed some light on that or not. If in fact, when you do karaoke inside, are you overcrowding the building? Are you overloading the building and keeping life safety in mind? I don't know what your occupancy, excuse me, I don't know what your occupancy permit says for the total number of people in the building. I would only ask and only hope, in good judgment, in good faith, that you follow what that permit says, and then, we keep everybody out of trouble that way.
I think what we're talking about now, though, and what's in front of us, is the situation on the outside of the building. The inside, it's the inside, and they gotta follow the rules, they already know that, and they,
Yeah,
you know.
correct.
But that's the outside of the building, that's the issue, and it's the neighbors that are not happy with the noise. Sounds like you tried to make some
Yep.
arrangements. I don't think, from what we understand, I'm not really sure if it's enough yet. And if it's just recently that this has happened, maybe it needs a week or two to settle in and see if it has made a difference. At this point,
Sure.
it's just hard for us to make that decision.
Just
But
to add to what he said with the parking, we do now have access to overflow parking in the church behind Ollie's.
Okay, Yep.
So we have told anybody that is coming for a band that please park over there and not to park on the street.
that's good, because the other day,
Yep.
they were on Rockland Ave, they were on
Mhm.
Elmwood, they were all over the area.
Yeah,
and
we
I
actually
mean,
we just purchased some cones and we're gonna
Yep.
put the cones out there as
Yeah,
well.
I think you guys are working on it.
Okay.
I'm inclined to let things go for right now and hope that the adjustments you're making, and you can even make some further adjustments
Sure.
if necessary, to try to make your neighbors happy, because that's the whole idea, is
Of
to have a happy neighborhood.
Absolutely.
We've
Okay.
sent them, we have Lobster Fest last year. We sent some of the neighbors some lobsters. I've spoke to the neighbors, I've invited them over, told them if they want to come join us. We've sent them gift cards, we're trying, in addition to making some of the changes that have been requested. Not everything can be done all at the same time.
I understand that,
So-
but you have to keep making progress.
Sure. 100%.
Or you're not gonna have an event
No,
permit
No,
in the
absolutely,
future.
yep, no,
So,
absolutely.
and I think that's important.
I thank you for that, I
you know.
appreciate that.
Anybody else?
No, I'm good. I mean, they have showed that they're willing to work with everybody, and the fact that that is happening, like you say, let's give it another 2 weeks, let's see what happens.
Okay.
And if the complaint's still coming in, we'll address the new complaints that come in, and we'll go from there. But, I'm pleased that we're working together on this, and we can come to a conclusion, and we'll be all set.
Perfect, thank you
All
very
right,
much.
no, thank
Have a
you.
Great evening.
And we have a 6:25 appointment with Dr. Tracy Hutton of use of public documents and photographs.
evening. I'm Dr. Tracy Hutton, part of Hutton Consulting LLC. I've been contracted to write a book by Arcadia Publishing. It's part of the Images of America series that you may be familiar with, and each town in New England kind of has one of these volumes, and they're produced inexpensively. And so one of the things I wanted to let the select board know is that the Hadley volumes that everybody refers to, those historical volumes, those were actually published by the town, if you don't know that. But I do intend to use images from those books, but the copyright has expired and any extension would have expired by now, so technically they're public domain. But I just wanted to make the select board aware that since it was a town publication, that I would be using those images, and that I may be, you know, making an appointment with the clerk to look at some of the other historical documents that exist in town. Just kind of let you know what I'm doing, so that if you, and I have met with the Historical Society already as well, so just to kind of let you know what I'm doing, so that, you know, if there are any questions that come up as to what's going on, that you're aware.
Okay. Anybody got any questions?
I'm all set.
No, you all set?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy, you back up again. Do we need to wait for Ellen, or is
It's Adam who's supposed to be coming, because he's the regatta committee.
okay? So he's
I've been told.
okay.
so-
No, that's fine. We can
just
move
give him a
on.
couple minutes, yeah.
We can move on. What we'll if we jump over you and then
Yeah,
we'll come
that's
back.
fine.
DPW Director, Adam. And we're on tab 7, folks.
Yes.
Good evening. Okay, so the item I have for tonight is a bid award recommendation for the wheeled excavator. Bids were open last week. We're looking for a 165 horsepower wheeled excavator, and this is replacing a 2004 Volvo. We did receive 4 bids. The low bidder, strangely for the second bid opportunity in a row, the low bidder requested that we disregard their low bid as it was made in error. So if that is the case, the remaining low bidder would be Equipment East LLC out of Drake, Massachusetts, and that would be our recommendation. In your packet, you've got a cover memo and then the bid tab. You might notice the amount. I'm sorry, I should mention first that they offered a trade-in. All 4 offered a trade-in allowance, but I think we could probably do better than even the highest trade-in out on the market with Municipal. Probably we did pretty well with the last round, and so far with the F550 that's out right now, we're doing pretty well. So I think I'd like to try Municipal again for the wheeled excavator instead of a trade-in. But without the trade-in, the bid amount, the base bid amount was $198,890. We did ask each to give us the price for their extended warranty. The max warranty that Equipment East would offer on a Doosan excavator would be 6 months, 7,500 hours for a cost of $12,490. We would recommend picking up that option to bring the total to $211,380. We've had pretty good success with our cat machine. Our Volvo excavator has been pretty pricey to maintain over the years, comparatively speaking. We just don't have the experience with a Doosan yet. We had an extended demo period. We did like what we saw, but being a new piece of equipment, I think it would make sense. We've had pretty good luck on all equipment with the extended warranties. I think it's money well spent.
And what was that warranty again? I'm sorry.
6 month, 7,500 hours. I'm sorry, 60 month, not 6.
I was going to say.
Yeah, 6 months.
So wait a
Yeah.
minute. That
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
make sense to me.
Yeah.
That's a lot of hours in 6 months.
5 years, 7,500 hours. The caveat to that, though, however, is right now we had we had budgeted $200,000 for either new or used, depending on what we could afford. This is slightly used, but we've got $200,000 in the CIP line for this piece of equipment. We have just over $2,400 left from the extended wheel dump truck that was underspent, but that still leaves about $9,000 to make up to get there with the warranty cost. I'd recommend that we pick up the warranty and we pay for that overage out of our equipment maintenance line, since that's the line that would be hit down the road for this type.
And you have that in your line?
We do. So I think it'd be worthwhile, and even though it's a tiny bit higher than we had hoped, I'm hopeful that from the town's perspective, we're going to get a pretty good trade-in allowance that we obviously can't budget for when we do the budgeting. So I think on the revenue end, you should see some pretty good results, and hopefully in the end, we're making right by the taxpayers on both sides.
Motion.
Motion to award the wheeled excavator bid to Equipment East LLC, 61 Silva Lane, Drake, Mass. 01826 in the amount of $211,380, which will include the warranty in that price as well.
Second that.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim to approve the purchase of the excavator. Any further discussion, questions?
Can I just ask-
Go right ahead, Jim.
And you said that you're not going to do trade-in with this, and you think you can get better than, what, 30,000 is the highest here? Is that what you said? I just...
I hope to. We've kind of had at least one of the dealers kind of tell us as much, that all they do with some of these, unless it's their model, they turn around and find a wholesaler to put it out to auction. What I did mention, and what I would like to do though on this one, we didn't on the previous piece of equipment. I'd like to put a reserve on the auction, maybe set the reserve for 20 or 25,000. That way we're kind of guaranteed the floor, and if it doesn't sell, then so be it. I'll come back to you and we'll
Go
figure
back
something
again
else
at
out.
it. Sure.
Okay,
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, seeing none, motion passes.
Do we need a motion for his request for the reserve, or will that happen later down the
Nah,
road?
we just do, he's putting that out to bid.
Okay.
And I'll time it so I can come back to the board with a recommendation for sale. It's kind of in the air, I'm not sure whether it'll garner, so we won't do have the chair sign or anything yet. I'll see you at the next meeting about it. Okay.
While you're here, do you get any updates?
I do, sure.
Why don't we just go right to that, because we're still waiting for somebody.
He's
Okay.
en route, I got a text.
All right, just poke me if he's gonna be late, or I'll go long. Let's see, okay, as you mentioned earlier, we did put out another traffic alert for the roundabout project, even though we've been into that for a bit here. The DPW prep work to remove existing was done. The big change though tomorrow is that the curbing contractor comes in the morning, so once they're in, their footprint is pretty large, and we're gonna have the alternating one-way will be in real effect for a good chunk of the day anyway, and probably for a couple days until they're done. So they'll be in tomorrow as soon as the curb work, the vertical curb, and the flush sections are done. The cobble contractor can then come in and cobble in the areas that are left. The curbing is the big hole in the tent, because if push came to shove and we get a lot more terrible weather, we could always fill the areas with gravel and people can drive over it. But if the curbing's not in, it is dangerous to have an open circle. So hopefully that kicks off well and goes well starting tomorrow. The Warren Ave Reclaim Project, the drainage crews made it up. They started at Eden Street. They made it up past Heald. So those two intersections. Continental Paving is going to be in town tomorrow, as you noted, for Glenwood, Upton neighborhood to reclaim that on behalf of the water company with our teamwork. So after they finish Glenwood, they're going to jump over and reclaim that first section of Warren Ave. And then hopefully we can kind of flip back and forth. We'll start the drainage on the upper half, and then after the reclaim is done, we can work the preparations and pave. So we'll probably end up paving the bottom half and then do the top half separately. If I can get a second crew there, we'll try, but it's looking like it's going to be just a single drainage crew for now over there. So be a little bit of everything on Warren Ave all at once. The first auction, all the vehicles are finally gone as of Saturday. Last vehicle got picked up. The current bid, current auction for the F550 is ongoing. That closes Wednesday. Right now that's at $8,600, so not too bad compared to certainly what we've taken in the past. I hope to see that maybe get over 10 by Wednesday. Staffing wise, everybody's healthy. We've got 2 new employees, new full-timers starting this month, and then 1 more in the pipeline to hopefully get to full staff. I feel like a broken record. I've been saying we're an inch away from full staff for 8 months now. And then the only other real item of note, last couple of weeks, mutual aid. After the storms, 2 weeks, not this past week, but the week prior, the town of Washington put out a call for mutual aid requesting VAC-on truck. So we sent our VAC-on with an operator there Friday and Saturday, weekend before last, to help them clean out catch basins and road culverts that have been pretty well plugged by all the gravel that got washed with the heavy storms. So a little bit of mutual aid. We'll finalize the accounting, and they can reimburse the town for the cost of that, for the machine, the personnel time, and then the fuel consumed. Hopefully, it won't be us next time, but there's always a good chance. You never know where
it
help could
is.
come from.
Yep.
Any questions?
Everything I've got.
And what'd you do with all those beautiful flowers in the middle of the roundabout?
Should have mentioned. So the garden club, after a little bit of uncertainty, they relocated a good chunk of them down to Carcourt. We had purchased Carcourt, as you might recall, from the Lubies on the corner there a couple years ago in the Main Street project. So we repurposed that island into a partial flower planter with the trough that's there as well. Some of them were taken to the other roundabout on Center Street, and some are being held in an undisclosed location for transplant once the project's done to go back in there. So I think we got it all figured out, and anything that was worth saving got saved.
Good.
Yeah, good. Glad you rescued them.
They were gorgeous, and it was right at peak too. So
Anything else?
Tears were shed.
Mark, you got any questions?
Nope, all set. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks all.
Now it's 6:35. They have Main Street in for reference to Pumpkin Regatta and other events.
So, my name's Tracy Hutton, I'm the executive director. Adam Vermakowitz, one of the board members and the head of the regatta committee, I guess you could say, is with me. We just wanted to start discussions about cooperation between the town and the Main Street program when it comes to our events, especially the regatta. We've been trying to use past practices, which is always dangerous, I understand, to kind of plan the regatta, and it's come to our attention recently that many of those practices are changing, and it's becoming a very hard plan to navigate because of those changes and not being aware of what they are. One of them is, practical in terms of, sign permits and stuff. We're not going to be able to put our signs where we have in the past. And the other is financial, and we still have to delve into the full cost of that, but it wasn't, the financial differences weren't talked about during the budget season, and they weren't mentioned to us until we asked for the traditional services that we usually have, and now we're being told that we need to pay for them this year. So as we flesh out what those costs are, we're just trying to sort of gauge the board in terms of the breadth of those costs, and what has changed in terms of the cooperation between the board or the town and the Main Street program.
Okay. Anybody want to jump in first? You are Main Street is a private nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of private nonprofits around. And it's come to the time now where more and more that's happening in the area. And we are not in a position to support all those things. And we can't just pick and choose. So I think, from what I understand, is the decision's been made that we treat everybody the same.
And when was that decision made?
I think it's just been an ongoing decision as we moved along. It's just like the decision to continue to fund, to give you funds, which was not supposed to happen. You were given funds to seed money when this originally started, and it was not to be a continued thing to be supported by the town. You were going to be self-supporting. So if we were to do something like you're asking, by supplying fire personnel and, that costs money, ambulance personnel, the police always helped out. Trash, now we have to have somebody come in on a weekend and pay to have trash. Well, maybe we can look at that, if you want to talk about things in the future, maybe we could look at that as being, instead of giving you money, giving you that as in-kind service. And that way, we're not impacting the town both ways.
I guess when we talked about this during the budget, and you had mentioned in kind during the budget process when we were looking at the warrant articles, there was no mention of the fact that we would no longer be receiving the in-kind. So when we looked at our budget, because you gentlemen, and I believe there was a female at the time, but you saw our budget. And we talked about the in-kind and we talked about budget, and there was no mention of the fact that we were gonna incur all these extra costs this year. And that makes it very difficult for, you know, mid-budget season, a couple months shy of the event, finding out that there's thousands of dollars in costs that we didn't anticipate and don't have in our budget.
Okay, but when we looked at your financials, they were pretty healthy. And, you know,
As are your reserves.
oh, really? I mean, didn't realize you were involved in part of that part of town government, and we're not gonna go there, okay? We're gonna
Okay.
talk about the pumpkin regatta right now. And we also have on here further events. Adam, did you wanna pop in on this?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I haven't heard much of this yet either because of how busy I am, so I'm trying to soak in as well.
So I think the issue here is you're asking for more town personnel to come in and help you with the pumpkin regatta where it comes to police, fire, and DPW. The permits, this board doesn't control that.
You do control what's in your right of way though, and that's the issue with the sign permits.
Well, we have ordinances about putting signs in the right of way.
Yeah. And
Right.
permits have been issued in the past, that's what the confusion was.
So, Daniela, we refuse to give them permits, or does Nancy said no to the permits, or?
It's my understanding that the zoning court enforcement officer reviewed the permits and she realized that they were not in compliance with the existing ordinance, which is when she reached out to Main Street to discuss the permit ordinance.
So in order for us to make an exception to the ordinance, what does that require?
I believe the way it's listed, the board would have to take a motion to allow specific signs within the town's right-of-way.
In specific locations?
Correct.
Okay.
As far as I understand it, but I will check with the zoning court.
Now, we would need to find out
To
from the
make
code
sure.
enforcement officer about that.
It's,
I
again.
know there's places like at 114, 114A, that's state up there, so, I mean, and along 114 is all state. So I'm not sure, I know you've always had a sign up there, and then at Henry Bridge, on that piece there, well, that's state and county, that's not us there.
Right.
So, I mean, there's, where you're
Some of
talking,
our locations are town, and some of them have been issued permits in the past.
good, well, we're gonna research that. 'cause
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I didn't hear there was,
Process
I
has
didn't hear,
changed,
I
and
didn't hear,
it's
I didn't hear
difficult.
anything about a sign issue until tonight, so we'll check on that. We'll
Yep.
get back to you, check on, see what we have to do with that. And if you have specific, if the code enforcement officer says you need to come before this board, you come up with some specific
She
locations
did
as
not
we,
mention that, so.
pardon me?
She didn't mention that, so I was unaware of that.
I'll
Okay.
have to
I'm sorry,
confirm
did-
to be sure
Yeah.
how the ordinance reads.
You ready for me to finish what I was saying?
Sorry.
Okay. You come up with the locations that you think you need to put signs. We go to the code enforcement officer, come back to us, and we'll work on that with you. All right? But don't, I mean, it's just, I don't think anybody's changed. Laws changed, or she happened to notice that we weren't following the rules, and now it's time, she
Right.
says she's stickling on the rules. I mean,
It just seems that it's the compounding of all the changes that's making it difficult to navigate.
Sure, I can understand that, so, but we'll work on the sign thing for you. Fine, I don't understand, like I said, I know 114, 114A you've always done, the county farm, the county you've always had. I think Adam even, we even used a board up there, one of those big message
Yeah.
boards for traffic control when it came to the regatta. So, I mean, I know that cooperation is there
Yeah.
and will still be there
Right.
for that, so. We're not gonna charge you an hourly rate to put that sign up, let's put it that way.
Right, but the fire department alone is, you know, a quarter of what we make at the regatta.
Well, we still have the, we got Glenny coming up, we got things like that.
I
How do we
understand.
not do it for one and not the other?
That wasn't my question. First of all, the pumpkin regatta benefits most of Goffstown. It's not just Main Street. And I think if we had been more prepared, and this had been mentioned during the budget, when you saw our budget, it may have been a little easier, but I don't think that we're in a position to be able to afford those additional expenditures and still have a regatta if the town is gonna hold firm to charging us for all the services that we've had in kind in the past.
So what you're saying is, what I just heard you say, or maybe I misunderstood that, if we have to charge you, you're not gonna be able to have the regatta?
It's a possibility, yes.
Mark, do you have anything?
Nope. I'm still digesting and taking it all in.
Jim, any questions?
I'm a little bit confused. Are there any other costs other than police and fire and?
Public Works.
Public Works, those are the three.
Yeah, and the police department has been nothing but accommodating. We discussed this with them. We've always paid for one detail. We were prepared to pay for one detail. There are additional officers who will be downtown just as part of their usual operations to provide the coverage that's necessary for the event. What we weren't prepared for was 6 firemen and 3 pieces of apparatus being charged in addition to Public Works. And we wouldn't have known about Public Works charges had we not come to the town administration to talk about the fire department charges. We would have not known until we got a bill.
So, in the past, how has the trash been handled?
The Public Works would drop off, I want to say it was 20 to 30 of the green dumpsters, both at the Old Main Street office and at the laundromat. We would then disperse them throughout town. When we're done, we would put them back in both locations. On Monday or Tuesday or whatever it is, they'd come and pick them back up.
Okay. Adam, is that how it worked in the past? Come on up, okay. I'm gonna ask Adam and the fire chief to come on up. Let's see, you guys are the ones. You can, yeah, grab one of these chairs here. Grab a chair over there. Let's just get this thing out. Let's just all right, nip it right in the bud right now and get it out of the way. How's that?
So with trash, over the years, and it's kind of grown, we started off, I looked back a couple years ago at 5 and 5 for the trash barrels, and then I think 2 or 3 years ago we started to do 20. I think we offered up, and maybe even one year did a dump truck with the tailgate down so they could
Just throw bags in?
during the day. The difference this year would be there was an additional request this year to have personnel come in halfway through the weekend and empty all these trash. That was in the formal permit request letter. So that's why there would be an additional cost. We don't normally have some, trash truck operating on a Saturday.
So if we didn't have the personnel, there would be no charge? Is that what I'm hearing?
Right. I mean,
There'd be no-
unless the board has decided they want to, bill for anything additional. But the plan, if we hadn't heard anything else, the plan would have been bring the same amount of trash cans we have the last couple of years. The folks would handle it over the weekend. We'd come in on the normal schedule and pick them up and go about our way. But it was that extra cost of having some, to pay
I'm just-
overtime for a Saturday.
Is there a reason why that wasn't mentioned when we got the permit in March?
That's,
I think on your response to the permit app, I wrote that, but you'd have to
I don't see those.
check. Yeah, I can't say once the permit app leaves me and comes down to town hall for the board and makes it into the packet. I think our notes are on there, but
I'll check.
you check?
Thank you.
if it wasn't, then
Okay.
I apologize. But my understanding is that the additional ask was what brought the
Think we
additional
got that
cost.
out of the way now,
Yep,
right?
that's done.
That was easy.
I'm gonna take my candy and go unless you.
Okay, let's get on to the fire department and what have we done in the past, chief?
Yeah, so Dr. Hutton came in last week when we met. As I explained to Tracy, in the past, I wasn't here when those arrangements were made, so I don't know what was done in the past. And now I have other nonprofits and other organizations that are asking for our resources, and we have a detailed rate set up. And that's kind of what I explained to Tracy when she came in. And so she could always come to the board and talk about it. So I'm guessing that's kind of part of this meeting. But yeah, we do have 2 boats in the water. We have an ambulance on standby, and we have a command staff that kind of organizes the event. There's a lot of resources, but it is for the safety of the people who are in the water that day that were there. So I really can't speak to what happened in the past, how that was set up.
Mark, you were on, you remember? No?
No, I was never part of that.
That part of the...
Yeah. Sorry, I can't help you there.
Well, I can understand that, and I hope you can understand that we just can't automatically waive the fees. So maybe we gotta come up with something to work this out, maybe, a reduced amount this time, and then so you can plan for it next time, because, we just can't do it because we have so many other people asking us now for support, and I understand Main Street, and I understand the Pumpkin Regatta is a good event, but we still have to be able to justify that because you are a private organization. You're a private nonprofit. You're not part of the town. I don't like to put it that way. We like to feel that you're part of the town, but we cannot, my personal feeling is that we can't support you and not somebody else. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I just got one, because I've never really been involved in everything else part of this. Do we need to have the fire department there for this event? Do we need to have the boats, the ambulance? Do we have to have all that? I've never been a part of, like, that part of the discussion. It's just always been there.
Joe, I know every year, a couple of years I've been back
Yeah.
in town, the boats that are in the water
Yeah.
have absolutely gone and helped assisted people.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend that.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I didn't know if there was some regulation or law saying, I'm just curious. I've never been, like I said, part of that. So, I was just curious.
So we don't have to have them?
There's nothing that says you have to. I would highly,
Yeah, it's always
I
been
don't know,
there. I thought it was something the town made us do. I don't know.
I'm sorry, I'm not gonna agree with that you don't have to. I'm not putting life safety,
Right, no,
Oh,
that's why I
I
was
was just, so
asking.
there's a
That's what you-
regulation in place?
pardon me?
There's an ordinance or a regulation in place that requires it?
Not that I know of.
Okay,
But we
so-
could make that part of a permitting process if necessary.
But we already have our permit.
Yeah, but,
Right, no, I didn't mean to bring something, I was just
you know
curious.
what, I don't think we wanna go there not having
Correct.
life safety personnel on scene.
No, correct, I just
All right.
was just curious to see what that whole, because
And-
now
yeah.
that there's charges and stuff, I was just curious to see if that was a mandated
Yeah.
thing because of the events we're trying to do, or if that was just, we did it and the fire department was just nice to do it. I was just curious, I didn't mean to bring anything.
Yeah.
Joe, I would say,
That's just-
as the emergency management
Correct.
director, I would highly recommend.
No, for what we're doing, I would
There's
agree,
a-
I was just curious.
There's an event
Yeah.
that's involved in water this coming weekend.
Yeah.
They have the same exact
Yeah.
detail. They have an extremely large incident actions coming
Yeah.
to that event that have fire department there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure probably our insurance would require it anyway, to probably have some type of rescue there. But I was just.
Well, it's not gonna happen if we don't have life safety. Okay, we have the authority to pull the permit too.
Yeah.
All right, so it's not gonna happen without life safety. I'm not gonna jeopardize anybody's life in there.
But it doesn't-
Adam's not gonna do that either.
Correct.
He's been around long enough
But
to
there
tell.
isn't- there
The
is no
chief is back
requirement
there
for-
saying yes.
There isn't a requirement for 2 boats per se, we could have 1 boat.
Possibly, that's what I said. Maybe we can
Yeah.
meet someplace halfway.
Yeah.
All right, but we're not gonna have no life safety there. There
I was
will
just
be.
making sure there wasn't a regulation that we need to follow specifically.
Mark,
Being fresh out of the fire service in this community, in this town, after 41 years, let me give you a little bit of experience and history on the boats, okay? We put 2 boats in the water so that we have double the protection and double the help. If that number 1 boat, the motor breaks down, something happens, and they start drifting towards the dam, and I don't know what the rain's gonna be, I don't know what's gonna happen, but if the boat stops or stalls, that second boat is their backup. We in the fire service, we have a 2 in, 2 out rule, which basically covers that. And as Chairman Joe Janis said, he's not going to allow it. And I have very strong feelings of not putting just 1 boat in the water. We need to have 2 boats in the water so that the safety is there, the liability is there, and if we have more than 1 person fall out of the pumpkin, and we're dealing with 1 person in the 1 pumpkin, what's that second person gonna do?
It's not that I don't understand that, I guess my point is that this is what's hard. There's a moving target out here, and we don't know what it is because it's not written down anywhere. And it's becoming very difficult to navigate the process, not knowing what the process is.
it's my understanding that in fact, I got a copy of it, the fees scheduled for, so it's not a
But
moving target.
not the requirement for the number of boats and all those things. For me to be able to calculate what that cost is, there's no,
Let me put it to you
It
this
is.
way. Let me put it to you this way.
yep.
If there's 2 pumpkins out there, you may only need 1 boat. You got 8 or 9 pumpkins out there, well, you're probably gonna need 2 boats. How's that? I don't know, how many pumpkins are you gonna have?
We don't know.
Don't know yet.
Exactly what I'm saying. So, we've gotta be on the prowl that we're gonna need 2 boats, because that's what we've done in the past.
Yeah.
We've had numerous 8 pumpkins out there before, I've
Yeah.
done it. You know, I mean, you need to have the 2 boats out there. If there's more than, 3 or 4
And I'm
pumpkins.
sure if you were to ask Danielle or Derek for the fees for the...
They've already got it, we already gave it to them.
We didn't get Public Works, we only got fire.
Okay.
I mean, so...
We got Public Works taken care of though, right?
I'm just saying in terms of fees.
Yeah, we already took care of that, see? We got that handled.
I don't believe it's a moving target. The fees are there, the numbers are there, and you just need to coordinate, put it together, and that's
Chief
it.
Serino, did you want to kick in on this?
Oh, sure.
I saw you at your head waving, bobbing
You know,
back there.
Listen, I've been a lifetime resident as well of Spring Sheriff, and I, for one, love the Pumpkin Regatta, but I would be remiss to not speak on behalf of public safety. Obviously, the fire chief is the expert when it comes to his operation and his fire department, so I don't want to speak for you, Sarah, but I remember a couple years ago, we had 2 boats in the water, and one of them did not work, which one of the pumpkins was going backwards towards the dam, and I have watched from the sidelines 2 people, regular people, jump in the water and swim towards the pumpkin by the dam, while that other boat, the fire boat, was drifting with no engine, and the other boat had to come from the top part down. I would really be cautious about how we approach the situation. And Tracy, with all due respect, I love the Pumpkin Regatta and I understand the situation we're in, but it really concerns me as a chief of police, not even in his position as the EMD, to think that we might not even have apparatus close by. One of my concerns with not having them on scene and responding from the various stations in town is, as we all know, being members of the community and being at Pumpkin Regatta, that is one of the biggest events this town has, and it is a nightmare to navigate through town, the downtown area. This is one of my concerns that I brought to you on the side about our safety issues, but that's really thinking about trying to get a truck down there, an ambulance through there, a boat down there. The road's already closed, there's already UTVs up and down, there's the pumpkin shooter thing that shoots that's on Mill Street. That is all part of the walking, the apparatus, and it, I don't mean to sound, put it all out there, but we have to figure something out and have his operational goals there, because if not, we run a risk of really, really putting ourselves in a bad position.
I'm not saying that we don't want to do that, what I'm saying is, I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Well, with all due respect, I think the fire chief is the person at the helm here, who's the expert, and if he's saying that this is what I need from my agency to really make this happen and operate at a safe level for not only our employees but our residents, I think we gotta trust them. That's my 2 cents, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chief. Jim?
Chief, you said that there was like 3 components of what you do. One was the boats, one was...
Yeah, so we have 2 boats in the water. We have an ambulance on standby in case there is an
So
event.
you keep that at the station?
No, right? As the police chief was just saying, the road's blocked, so we actually have it right at the boat launch.
Okay, so that's taken.
And then a command staff member to organize everyone.
And those are regular fees too?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
So that's $750 an hour. Just putting it out there.
And Pumpkin Regatta is what, 2 hours?
I'd have to look at the
Yeah,
schedule. I think
time.
it's 2 to 4.
The actual
something
time
like
itself,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's only,
But there's a pre-race that I'm sure you'd want to be there for, and, the practice run.
No, there's never been a practice. The boat,
No.
pumpkins...
It was on the
pump-
schedule.
The pumpkins
Yeah,
go
no,
in the
I
water and...
think they just go in the water.
Yeah, we just put them in the water.
yeah, there's no
Okay.
practice
That's
or
us
anything.
there. We're
Going by what the old
candidates,
schedule
Yeah.
said.
I don't know, I mean, like I say, I've done it, and,
Right.
We're typically down there when they...
So
For
2
the,
hours.
for the race, once all the boats are in and
Yeah,
it's...
when
Right,
as they're
right.
loading in.
Like I said, I was just going by an old schedule, so I can't.
yeah. Not having done it before, so you're kind of,
That's why I'm here.
yeah, you're kind of coming in the back way to try to figure out how to run the thing, and, yeah. And I've been there before, so,
Yep.
and there's a lot of other people in town that have done it too, so I'm sure they'd be more than happy to help.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Nope. I'm sure we'll be back at the next meeting to
That's fine.
Button everything up.
button everything.
Yeah, that sounds good, great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
You're welcome.
All right. Chief, did you want to do your department update? You might as well, you're standing right here? We're sitting right here now?
Sit right there. All right, a few things. I haven't given an update in a few weeks as far from the emergency management director standpoint. So obviously, I think everybody knows, watching the news, COVID's starting to trend in the wrong direction again, slowly. Currently in town, I think we have 17 cases. Fortunately, none of those at this time are at the county nursing home, which is really good. They're doing a great job over there. All the department heads have been talking. We've got set up one Teams meeting recently just to kind of get ahead of the game. If things do change, what are we going to do? But just kind of in a monitoring mode right now. There's been some conversation in town with regards to our vaccination rate, which was
Fictitious as far as I'm
38,
concerned.
39%. Yeah, so just so the people who might be watching at home or watching a rebroadcast of this, so those numbers are not well defined by Department of Health and Human Services. We don't believe that they include folks in the Pinardville section of town. It hasn't been confirmed yet. We do know that the residents at the county nursing home are counted in our census number. However, all those people who are vaccinated are not included in the state's number because they were vaccinated by National Guard. So the numbers are kind of all over the place right now. We're certainly working with Health and Human Services to try to get a better read on exactly what our numbers mean and what our percentage means. And Senator D'Alessandro is also helping us out in that effort. So more to come on that. Not sure if the numbers are skewed or not. So. And if anyone has any questions, they're welcome to call me anytime with the fire department. Recruitment in the packet that Danielle read off earlier, we have 5 new full-time firefighters starting on Monday. And several also additional part-time members, which is phenomenal. You may see us around the community the next 3 weeks. We'll be doing a recruit school with those new members. So a pretty exciting time for us. Our new ambulance, we had a couple modifications to make, and then we'll come back to the board as far as the contract pricing on that with HGAC. But that's still a few more weeks away. 2 quick facility updates. I made mention in the past, Station 19 recently was noticed between the first and second floor, the front wall has actually come out about an inch and a half. There's a gap there. We've been working with a structural engineer to come in, do an evaluation. Right now, we're waiting for an official quote of what that engineering cost might be. We're hearing upwards of $10,000. In addition to that, the apparatus floor bay, the concrete's actually cracked and actually dips when the trucks go in and out. We don't know if those two are connected or not, so we don't want to fix the floor in case it is connected with the other thing. So we're holding off on the floor right now, which is going to be expensive, upwards of $25,000, $30,000. So it's a big cost potentially coming, but we don't want to do that, and then only to find out we got to dig it back up. So we kind of got ahead of it. And the other facility, Station 18, we have been contacted by DES in the past as far as some PFAs in the local groundwater. We've been working with a company, Nobis, out of Concord, New Hampshire. They've come through with a plan that's awaiting DES approval, and that estimate's going to be $26,000. The finance director has been working diligently behind the scenes. Talked to Primex, it's not covered on the Primex. However, we believe that this cost could be covered by the ARPA funds, which would be really good, because nobody planned to spend $26,000 this year on those funds, but it's something we have to do as a town. And the only apparatus I have is out of service is engine 6, waiting brakes. It's at DPW, so that'll be up and running this week. That's all I
Excellent.
got.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief Serena?
Good evening, everyone, again. So real quickly, our agency is doing all right. We've seen one member test positive here, so we're starting to kind of look at that again as far as the COVID numbers. Our new officers are graduating at the end of the month, which is really exciting for us. On paper, I am full staffed all the way across the board, so hopefully that lasts for a little while. We're doing well. We got some news on our cruisers that we ordered in February. They're being built in September, allegedly, so hopefully we'll see those in like December, January. Really, the big thing we have going right now is that radio project that I brought to the board. We've engaged in that radio project, and we're going to have that member, that company, do the RFP process for us. So they're going to look into that, write that for us, and I'll present that in the next couple of meetings to show you all what we're looking at and where we're going, and see what you guys think. But other than that, we're still moving forward and doing pretty well. Big shout out to Jackie for her putting together, Jackie Pelletier, putting together the National Night Out, one of our bigger events. All of our officers and staff that were there helping out. I thought it went really, really well. It was well attended. So really, really impressive event. Looks like we're gonna have to start looking for a bigger lot somewhere in the future. But overall, that was a great event. Getting ready for the school season to start up. Gonna have a couple meetings here with the SAU to kind of see how they're gonna look. That's really it.
I attended that National Night Out. That was great. Yeah, I thought you guys did a great job. Like you said, Jackie was right on it.
Thank you. Yeah, she's phenomenal. Knocked it out of the park again. The whole
And she
team.
also came. She also came on Saturday and let out the 107 motorcycles that we had here at Saturday. We raised $16,000 for
That's great.
Dartmouth Hitchcock Oncology Department. So
That's
she was
great.
a big help. Get
Glad to
things-
hear it. Glad that everybody was safe on Main Street and getting those bikes out of there. So
Mark?
Chief, on the radio system?
Yes.
You know, that's one of my pet peeves. Is that for the entire RFP, for the entire town, that we're gonna be looking to upgrade or fix or do whatever?
yeah. So as I mentioned previously, the look here is to at least RFP for an entire system. Then work with our expert, our consultant there, to determine what's obviously what the price is, where we need to approach that, how we can, if we have to piece it together. But my goal is to get our entire radio system, at some point in the next couple of years, brand spanking new, with up to speed with the technology that needs to be. And we're just going to have someone that has the more knowledge
Oh, I understand.
to do that for us. But,
Yep.
that's the goal, is to get it 100%
Like
done.
everything else, TVs are not TVs, they're computers. The radios are not radios, they're computers before they're radios. The technology has just skyrocketed, and if that's not your specialty, we're really, stuck.
Yeah,
Thank you,
that's
Chief.
the goal. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anything else, Jim? You all set? Thank you, Chief.
All right, thank you.
Danielle, it's up to you now.
Okay.
Ball's in your court.
All right. At tab 9, there is a memo from Derek, but I'll run through the items we have. Town hall employees remain healthy at this time, so we're very thankful for that. We're continuing to work with the department heads to monitor the COVID numbers and follow all of the applicable health guidelines. Replacement of the HVAC unit here that was damaged during a storm. That work has been completed, and so we're back to regular HVAC on both sides of the unit. Town hall interior stair tread project continues. We have samples, and we're finalizing the scope of work as well as installation after hours, so that we won't be disrupting the public access to the building. The ARPA coronavirus local fiscal recovery funds, that grant, we continue to attend webinars and information. Seemingly every other day there's more information coming out, so we're continuing to review that. We have received the first disbursement, and we're continuing to monitor the information, and we'll be back before the board to begin discussion about how to utilize those funds going forward. And for 2022, the budget process, we are getting started, working on developing a schedule of meetings with the select board and the budget committee. And we have begun our fire union negotiations as well. And we had just completed the interviews for a building secretary. That was the one vacant position we had in town hall. It's part-time. Derek is reaching out to an individual to try and come up with an offer for that position.
That's it.
That's it.
See, Diana left. So there is a report in our packet from the library. Jim, do you want to talk about that at all, or?
So long ago, I can't remember. No, I think it speaks for itself. There's nothing major, they're just working on that expansion slowly.
And I know they had a display out at the National Night Out also.
They do.
Anything else? Move on to new business. So, we had a resignation of a state rep. And there's certain things that are required that we must take a look at. Now, Ben, you want to just bring us up to speed at all, or do you just want me to dive into it?
It's up to you, whatever your preference. I can give some background if you'd
Yeah,
like.
why don't you go ahead and do some background.
All right. So the town of Goffstown was notified on August 2nd that we're having a vacancy for District 6. Representative Gunsky has submitted his resignation to the Executive Council to the state. And under RSA 66:8, there is specific rules about holding special elections, and it begins with the select board to decide if they want to fill the vacancy for the district. So if the select board requests a special election, it would go before the governor and council, who will then declare a special election within set timeframes, 110 to 124 days after a special election is declared by the governor's council. And so we have to think about where the dates fall and utilization of the space. So we're working with the school district to try and figure out some dates for possible election and compare that to the schedule that we have available at this time for the 2021 and 2022.
And if you peel back a couple of pages, you'll see some of the options there, and the dates. I do have a letter I want to read. I'm just going to read this into the record. This gentleman, recently a Goffstown State Representative, resigns his position as a representative. As you know, the first step to replace him rests with the Goffstown Select Board. As of August, 4 special elections have been called to fill vacant state representative seats in Merrimack, Bow, Dumbarton, Bedford, and Jaffrey. The news shouldn't be a factor in deciding whether to hold a special election in Goffstown, but it does show other towns have found it important, regardless of the cost or inconvenience, to ensure that their residents' voices are heard in Concord during the upcoming legislative session. I support a decision to request the governor and executive council schedule a special election for Goffstown as soon as possible. Hopefully, you will well. Thank you for your time and all your work on behalf of Goffstown residents. So, as you see, there were some, first thing we have to do is decide whether we want to request a special election. Now, and you'll see in here where we've been given some numbers of the cost. And we have a timeline in some of them. A primary election, which would be which would be the first one, would be between $11,000 and $13,000. And then the general election would be another $13,000 to $14,000. So potentially somewhere between $24,000 and $27,000 is going to be the cost of a special election. On top of that, you have another probably $1,500 in additional help from Parks and Rec here at the town hall, things like that. So we need to consider that. Now those numbers, needless to say, we didn't budget for that, so we really have to consider. We have two options. I think there was two options highlighted in front of us. Okay, option one was the agenda closes on the 18th. The meeting would be on the 1st. September 6th through the 10th would be the candidate filing period. Needless to say, September 6th is Labor Day. The primary would be November 9th, and the election would be December 28th. and that would be the schools are on Christmas break. I think, me personally, that you would get minimal turnout 2 days after Christmas, especially if the kids are on Christmas break. People are on vacation, gone ski vacation, stuff like that. I'm more inclined to go with option 2 personally, with the January 18th primary, and then the same day as the town meeting for voting. That'll save us somewhere around, $14,000 to $15,000. And we could also budget for that in our next year's budget, because it'd be in January, and we wouldn't be impacting this year's budget. So, that was where I'm coming from. Mark, will you?
I agree with you on the second presentation here, where we do the special provision and follow those guidelines for those dates. Like you say, the money that we don't have in the budget, to try to find that money could be a chore. I'm in favor of the second one highlighted for the primary of January 18th, and the special election day. It would be the same day as the town meeting, voting day on March 8th. That's where I'd like to see us go.
Jim?
I got a little different perspective. This is the second biennium of the House session. The budget's all done. Second year is pretty much, there's not a lot done. The first year is where it's all happening. And
Well, you've been there, you know.
yeah, I do. So I'm looking at it, if you're gonna have a representative, and we should have representatives there, we've got 4, we should have 5. The committees start up again around January 1st. And if we use even if they win by 4 votes, or with 4 votes, around Christmas, we get full representation for the 6 months, because they usually knock off, everything's done to June. And it doesn't seem, if they don't get up there till March, 8, 9, 10, April, May, June, I don't know, it's worth spending the money. Can't believe I said that, but no.
So, do we have that option, Danielle, to not request a special election?
You do. Yeah. There's 2 separate questions before you. The first is whether or not the board would like to hold a special election. And then the second one is, if you decide to hold a special election, when would you be looking to get that election date?
So, doing the 18th, like we said, we'll be spending somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000. And that's, I don't know if that includes the new mailing out ballots and all that new laws that come into effect.
Yes. Yep. The existing provisions are still in effect.
They are.
Yeah.
I'll take it from somebody who's been there. Is it really worth it?
I mean, the committees are all set up in January, and that's where all the work is done, and our representative's not gonna get there till mid-March.
So don't spend the $13,000 to $15,000 is what you're saying.
Well, unless we do the December, then.
Then nobody's
you
gonna
get-
show up.
Well, even if we get a representative, yeah, that's, yeah. There's no perfect solution.
Right. No, I don't have a problem with not doing it. If it's saving the town $13,000 to $15,000 to have, but well, whatever.
Do we have any data for Christmas special election? I didn't-
In your packet, there's just examples of the elections, special elections that have occurred in 2021. Since they're this year, we don't have any comparison of a
But were there any-
election around
were there any
Christmas.
at Christmas time? I didn't look
No.
at that.
No. The one with the biggest turnout was the one that was held in the spring with the town election. And then
Oh,
the
at the
other
town,
two-
during the town elections?
During the town election, yeah. And then the other 2 were in the fall,
So that's beginning of the,
September.
yeah, last year.
Yeah. Yeah, when there's still year and a half.
So there's right there, that's where they did the special election the same day as the town election.
When is ours?
Ours
That
is,
would work for us?
ours is March 8th.
March 8th. Oh, that's the March 8th, okay. I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
That's the second option that we talked
Right,
about.
right, right.
I think that's meeting it halfway if we take that second option. You know? I know what you're saying, there's not gonna be much done, you kind of, I don't know if you wanna say throwing away $15,000 or $13,000, but,
Well, I mean, if you believe in democracy, then, you know, there's something to that. I do. So that's why I said I hesitate to say that, but still, having been there and lived through it for 10 years, you know, there is that.
yeah. So, in that scenario, if you don't hold it, then it just comes back to primary in September, and then
Yes.
go back to the normal,
Yeah.
yeah. Mark?
You looking for a motion?
Yeah, I got it.
I'll make a motion that we not do anything at this point in time, and we just wait for the next election, whatever that may be.
The next round, it
Next-
would be next September.
Yeah, next September. That's gonna be my
Would be
motion.
but it would be, the primary would be
Yeah.
in September.
Yeah,
Due to the lack of business, more or less, I guess you would say.
like you just said, the biennium,
Well-
the work's all been done. Second year, they're tidying up, taking care of a few things in the office and whatever, but,
Well, there's still committee work that's.
you know, there is, but nothing like the first year.
There's, well, just before I forget, hold off on the motion for a
Yeah.
second. Is it really so bad to do it in December, even if we get, you know, 400 or 500 people to show up?
I'm not for that, not at all. Number one, that's hitting us with $25,000 in this year's budget,
Oh, okay.
you know, to have maybe a small turnout because we decided to do it during Christmas vacation. I'm just,
Okay, I wasn't thinking about the budget, okay.
you know,
That's the problem, okay. That's, I'll second your motion.
Thank you.
so the motion, as I understand it, is to not request a special election.
Correct.
And it's motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? So as it stands, we will not have a special election. Election matrix. Okay. Any word from the county?
We have
Nothing,
not
huh?
had a-
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Chad has reached out, and I guess he's looking, Commissioners has given him the go-ahead to start putting some stuff together. So we're waiting here. He just sent
Thank
that
you,
today,
Chief.
sorry.
He sent that today?
No, it was the other day, just they were, I guess they had their meeting and they told him to kind of start looking at researching how to put the RFP out. So I know Derek had emailed him earlier this week, kind of
All right,
saying what's the.
that's good, thank you.
What's the progress.
Okay.
Personal plan, you and Chet still working on that, Danielle?
We're working on the wellness components. The department heads are still reviewing results of surveys and different recommendations with the HR committee.
When do we think we're gonna see something? We should have some kind of a date, target date on here.
Yeah, I will check in with that committee and see what they think for a timeline. I have only seen some of the results and discussion. I've been available for part of the discussion, but I don't know of a hard deadline at this point.
Collis isn't here about the ad hoc committee, so we don't, do you know anything about that? Have you?
Yep, they did have their final meeting, so now they're just putting the final edits on their report. The report will be presented this month to the board, and then a formal presentation from the committee with their recommendations will be coming forth at your meeting in September.
Okay. We're still waiting for word on the grant.
Yep, no word yet on the decision on the Moose Plate grant.
And we've got the one of the Packers is out. Engine 6, we already heard about that storm with the brakes, and then we have a Packer that's out. Looks like
Correct.
that's
Yeah.
diagnostic issues.
Yeah.
Okay, that's done, that's said. We will have our second public comment. If you wanted to speak again?
Do I need to say my name again?
Yes, please.
Teresa Desposis, 6 Elmwood Ave, Goffstown, New Hampshire. So just a comment on Circle National Club, what they brought up to you. On July 31st, which was 2 weekends ago, they had a very loud concert. And the cop was patrolling our neighborhood and they went to 10:03. Might be 3 minutes over, but they're saying they're stopping at 9:45. Well, that was 2 weekends ago. Our glasses were clanging in our cabinet. That's how loud it was. This past weekend, we'll give it to them. It was a little bit lower. Nobody called the cops. But I know they say they're trying to work with us, and yes, my husband did play his music twice. He's all done doing that. He's apologized to the policemen and stuff, and they told us to call them, and we have been. I get it's supposed to be a private club, and when we moved in, we didn't have a problem. We never complained about anything. It's this outdoor concert, and that's exactly what I told them. The Saturday outdoor concert. Would any of you like an outdoor concert at your house every single weekend? I don't think so. It's like you're at a real live concert. I've driven to the private club next to Hannaford's. They don't have anything like that going on. Canadian club, nothing like that going on. And like you said, the parking issue. They don't have parking for all these people, and those people aren't going and walking to the church to park. They're parking on our street, they're parking on Rockland Ave. So I guess we just continued to fight the battle, because we thought the last meeting that they were going to come in and it was going to be August 9th, and maybe they weren't going to be able to have their Saturday concerts anymore, but apparently that's not the case, so.
We're working, trying to get it down for you, but they have certain rights also.
Yeah,
And,
I understand.
And we're trying to work with it, and
Yeah.
maybe next year they won't get a permit.
Yeah.
Or there'll be more restrictions, or
Yeah.
they'll have something different set
Yeah,
up.
well, that's why we just continue coming back. I mean, the neighbor that came the last time, they're on vacation, so here I am.
You're the delegate this week.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Anybody got anything else? Motion?
Motion to go into non-public session, RSA 91A:3, 2 for A, compensation. Is there anything else? Or is that it, Danielle?
That's it for this evening.
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
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 That'll conclude tonight's public portion of the select board meeting. We will